Hey everybody, I wanted to give you my take on a new release that just come out. It's called the US Albums. It's the Beatles, and it's 13 compact discs of the albums that they had that were unique in the United States. And let's listen to some of the Beatles' second album from the US. You know, I always loved the way that guitar opened up the album. It was kind of echoey, came out of a tunnel in a way. Well, you're not going to get that on this, and I'll tell you why. I had a little bit of reservations about getting this set when I first heard about it, because I'd learned that they weren't going to use the actual 60s masters that they originally had on the US albums, and I figured, what was the point? You know, anybody who doesn't know, when the albums came out in the US, they were mixed differently, and they added reverb, echoey sound effects and things to some of the tracks, and a lot of people didn't like that, and for years I didn't like it, but now it's kind of been cool, and I kind of want it that way. And I have to say, with reservations, if you have this set, you're not really getting the US Capitol albums the way they were intended in the 1960s. That's the bad news. So they're not official. But there's more good news to be had. Let me just hold on a minute. Most of these came out already several years ago now on 2 volumes. US Capitol Albums Volume 1, US Capitol Albums Volume 2, which I'd already bought. And the whole thing about these was, it was the first time being able to get the actual 60s masters. If you want the 60s masters the way they were meant to be in the day, this is the only way to get them. Because they took the old 2009 UK cleaned up versions. I've just put them in here in whatever sequencing followed the Capitol albums. So basically you're getting the same 2009 remasters in mono and stereo. They have 2 versions on here. You get the mono version and the stereo versions, and they just put them in the sequencing of the US albums. So, having said that, I still wanted to get some of these because you can get them separate. There are some individual releases. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these that were not featured on these earlier sets. So you have to buy these individually now, or whatever. So buy the whole set, which I decided to do. The reason I decided to go for this was I saw a couple of videos online and I liked what I saw. And I'm a collector, let's face it, you know, I got the bug. And this is a nice presentation here. I figured what I would do to justify it is I'll buy this set, and then I'll take all my versions out of here that were originally released several years ago. I'll just take these all out, you know, and I'll place them in here. So I got a nice spiffy looking packaging with the correct versions of the 60s stuff. But as I say, let me slow down because I've actually found some good things. Let's put it this way. These are going to be out of order, but it's okay. When you take out the inside, you get this, which has the CDs in it. You got Meet the Beatles, Beatles' second album, not the real version, unfortunately. The real version is in the other one. Something New, Beatles 65, the early Beatles, Beatles 6, Help, soundtrack album, and Rubber Soul, the US version. But here's the unique ones that are brand new to this set, or you could buy separately. You have the biggest draw for me, which I was almost going to buy separate, A Hard Day's Night, which has the soundtrack from the film, including George Martin's instrumentals, which I really love. To me, that's the highlight right here. You have the Revolver album, which wasn't included originally, and no wonder. This is totally useless, folks. The US Revolver album is the one case where even if you like the US albums, this thing is useless because it omits several songs that were on the original UK version. Totally needless. The Beatles Story. You can't buy this separately in this run, by the way. You have to get the box set is the only way to get this, and I'm going to tell you, it's really useless. It's a real bore. This might have been really interesting in 1964 when people hadn't known that much about the Beatles yet. And if you're a person just new to the Beatles, this will be a good warm-up introduction. But it's useless these days. You got the Beatles, the Hey Jude album, 1970, Apple. First time on CD. And also, you get the Yesterday and Today album, but what's interesting is you can peel the cover off and reveal the butcher. In fact, they even have this as a peel away, I guess, laminate I'm not going to peel it. You can peel this, the back off this, and maybe stick it on here, and then I'm guessing you can remove it if you want. That's a cool idea. It also comes with a booklet. And the booklet has a lot of good pictures in it, but I like the back a lot. The ad that says from Capitol, the Beatles are coming, with the haircut. Now, there's some questions that people wanted to know, some Beatle fans, about this new release, and I can answer some of them. One of the first questions they wanted to know was, on A Hard Day's Night, does the version of I'll Cry Instead have the extra verse in it? The answer is yes, it does have the extra verse in it. That's a plus. Some other things that people wanted to know is that on Rubber Soul, is the version of I'm Looking Through You with the false start. There's a false start version. The answer is yes. The stereo version has the false start. That's good. Other questions. This was my question, actually. On Beatles 65, I was wondering if they were going to use the echoed version with the reverb for She's a Woman and I Feel Fine. The answer is yes, they do. On one version, I think it's the mono. I'm not sure which one they use it on. One version has the echo versions of I Feel Fine and She's a Woman, and the other one, stereo or whatever, has the clean version from the British that we know. So you get that on it. Even though the whole album isn't quite like it's supposed to be, you do get what you really need. Beatles 65 is not Beatles 65 without the reverb versions of She's a Woman and I Feel Fine. I was worried about this. On the Beatles' second album, is Thank You Girl going to have the added harmonica? Because that was, at one point, really only available here in the United States. The answer is yes. One of the versions, I think it's on the stereo version, has the added harmonica in the middle and the end of the song. To me, that's the only way to listen to Thank You Girl. And I always thought the original British version got it wrong. Sorry. You know, I don't like it without the added harmonica in the middle and the end. So, as I was sampling these and listening to them, I decided, you know, it's not a total loss. I mean, I could have bought the ones I needed individually, but, you know, I said, what the heck? You know, the sound is pretty good, and they do retain the important parts, even though it's not the official 1960s remasters, the way 1960s masters, the way they came out in the 60s. You know, if they're going to remaster them, at least they got those crucial details right. So you're going to get those crucial details. Another thing I liked is they all have the sleeves on here, clear protective sleeves that you can reseal. And look at this. This is the new one, and this is the old one from the old Capitol set, kind of yellow and smaller. So the new set here has a bigger sleeve, and this is the old one, CD. Kind of yellowish looking. So you know what? Yeah, I think I'm going to like this overall. I'm going to put my old ones in some of these. Cheers.